Again, before that, we had some massive winners courtesy of FanDuel yesterday. I cannot wait to show you guys throughout the show. But if you're looking to get in on the NFL gambling action this season, there's no better place to do it than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, brand new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is easy to use, and they have a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to get in on all the action to help kick off the NFL season. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And check out this winner yesterday from our guy, John Byerly. He turned $5 into $860 with a massive same-game parlay. He had Deshaun Watson over 200 passing yards, Lamar Jackson over 200 passing yards, Amari Cooper over 40 receiving yards, Njoku over 25 receiving yards, Mark Andrews over 40 receiving yards, Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown, and Keaton Mitchell anytime touchdown. It all hit, and our guy John Byerly turned $5 into $861. So shout out to John for cashing out big on FanDuel yesterday.
Great. And I believe the Browns have opened as a 3.5-point favorite over Pittsburgh at home and FanDuel. Is that correct, Mike? Do you have it in front of you?
3.5, yes.
I believe it's 3.5. Obviously, we'll spend a lot of time on that, especially with the Bengals and Ravens playing on Thursday.
Big week in the AFC North.
This that week.
Yeah.
This is that week.
In a perfect world, if you're a Browns fan, you want the Browns to beat the Steelers, you want the Bengals to beat the Ravens. If that happens, which is definitely not unrealistic,
right.
If that happens, the Browns will be in first place at 7-3, right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
The Ravens would be 7-4. Right? Do I have that right? Yeah, the Ravens are 7-3 right now. The Browns are 6-3. Yes. Ravens would be 7-4. Steelers would be 6-4. And the Bengals would be 6-4. So the entire division would be within a game if that happens, and the Browns would be in first place, which is nuts. So we'll see. We'll get to that later in the week. But now going back to yesterday and starting with Deshaun Watson. Guys, there were a lot of moments in that first half where I'm sure you guys were too. We're like, what is he doing out here? What is happening? But the second half, it all turned around. We saw that against Arizona, but even more impressive this week against that great Baltimore defense with the deficit. There were so many big plays that the team made, but we'll talk about Deshaun Watson specifically. So many big plays he made. Not only the passing yards, 134 in the second half, which is really good, but that run late in the game where I think he got 16 yards on that run. It seemed like every time there was a penalty in the second half or a sack in the second half, he always found a way on the next play to make a play to stop them from being in third and long situations.
Right on that point, biggest throw of the game, I thought, was 2nd and 19 to Amari when he coming off the strip sack.
That was it.
We'll get to the sack and Wyatt Teller with the biggest fumble recovery that no one talks about. But on 2nd and 19, again, your back's up against it. It's not looking good. You don't want to be in third and long. And he delivered a strike to Amari Cooper. For 15, 16, I think it was, puts you in third and manageable.
17 yards down to 3rd and 2.
Yeah.
And gets you manageable. You're able to convert, and you keep that drive going. That was a big-time throw.
Man.
I don't know if that's the best throw of the year, but under the circumstances, maybe it was. And Mike, just on our pre-show call, you had a stat that kind of surprised me a little bit about Deshaun in second halves.
Deshaun is among qualified quarterbacks with a minimum of 100 passing attempts. So someone who has to have played at least a decent portion of the season. He is the single highest EPA of any quarterback in the second half this season, which is a far cry from where he ranks, and I'm still trying to find out the exact numbers.
First half, he's probably
go
the
through
bottom.
some qualifiers. But he's not very high in EPA in the first half. Second half, there has not been a quarterback in the NFL better in terms of EPA than Deshaun Watson this season.
Our eyes tell us he's a better quarterback in the second half. We've how many times have we said that? The Arizona game, this game, even Tennessee game, he was better in the second half. But to hear that he's number one in EPA, expected points, I just forgot it. Expected points per play, basically. Are you adding points or are you subtracting points with your play? There have been games where the Browns were losing points every time the quarterback dropped back this year. So for him to be number one in that stat that's in advanced metrics. That's a really big deal.
He's playing at an elite level in the second half.
Yeah.
If he can get the first half he's playing like crud. If he can just get to average in the first half, then we're really talking.
I want to go back and look at his Houston numbers to see if he was always a second half quarterback. If this is the remnants of the shoulder where it just takes him a while to get warmed up and get heated up. Because, again, he's still not 100%, guys. He's not going to be. I was talking to him after the game about it a little bit at his locker, and he's still not happy with his deep throws where sort of the ball placement is on some of the throws. And they're working on, they're tweaking some things with some inside leverage on some of the routes. And Kevin has him under center. He made it sound like he's going under center more yesterday than he had. The numbers didn't really back that out or bear that out, but it's clear that he's under center more than he was in Houston, and that's something from Kevin trying to get certain defensive looks from the opponents. And right now, everything is working. Everything that they're doing is working, especially in the second half.
And everybody's banged up this time of the year. His injuries are pretty serious.
Yeah.
He hurt. It seemed like he got hurt every other play, but he kept fighting. He kept going. We thought, at the start of the second half, they were talking on the broadcast, G, as if he was coming out of the game.
Yeah,
we thought he wasn't nowhere to be found. PJ Walker's warming up in the third quarter, and Deshaun's not even out yet.
I was like, no.
And Kevin said, he said, well, I mean, Deshaun told me he was playing, so. Yeah. We just kind of, I thought he was playing. Deshaun said he'd be back out there. He left early to go get retaped. We could talk about that, about the end of the half, whatever happened there.
Yeah.
But he had left because he had to go get the ankle retaped for the second half. And then when he came back out, obviously he was able to still go. But it was for a couple minutes there was a question about whether or not he could continue.
You know what I want to give credit. I know we're on Deshaun, man, but I'll give Kevin Stefanski a lot of credit. I'm going to give him a lot of credit because his team could have quit on him a lot of times during this game. The first interception, first one or two plays, they get an interception. There's times where the team could have folded up. And David Njoku was on here talking, last week, and he said, look, you guys might not see it, but we feel like we got something special in this locker room. We feel like we got something special.
Yeah.
Our coach may not have the best after pregame or postgame speeches. We need to get you some stuff written down. But other than that, I thought he did a great job of managing the clock at the end of the game.
Yeah.
He left him no time. He managed that beautifully. And whether you want to say it or not, those dudes play hard for him.
No doubt. They play hard every game. We'll get more into Stefanski in a little bit. Mike, go ahead.
So real quick, I was just doing some sorting, and I talked about Deshaun being the highest rated quarterback in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
In terms
of second half or the fourth quarter?
In the second half, excuse me.
Okay.
In terms of completion percentage over expected, Deshaun is the highest in the second half this season. PJ Walker's dead last. So you talk about the two different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
PJ Walker could not be lower on completion percentage over expected in the second half this season. Deshaun Watson could not be higher. So the Browns have had the highest and the lowest in the same season.
Yeah, and the Browns are 4-1 in the games he's played. The whole game. They won the Colts game. He doesn't get any credit for that. But they're 4-1, so they've won 80. And listen, obviously, I think the win-loss stat is overblown in terms of judging quarterbacks. But people were critical of him for his record, and this year so far, his record's been really good. He's 4-1 in the games that he's started and finished. And he was tremendous in the second half. And once again, he showed us he's giving you hope that, now that he's practicing more, even though he's not 100%, he's played really well through these injuries, despite some flaws at times in the first half of these last two games where he hasn't looked good. But when it's mattered, when he's had to, he's been able to make a lot of big plays. And we're looking for more consistency as we go down the season. I'm hopeful that will happen as long as the injury doesn't get worse. But considering what he's playing through, and what did he hurt yesterday? His ankle? And then, did he hurt his knee also?
He was down on one knee on the left sideline. I don't know what exactly was that got him hurt.
He left in a boot on his left foot. I don't know if he was in a boot after the game. But I don't know if it was ankle, foot. I don't know exactly what it is. You can, I guess, assume ankle, but I don't know that we necessarily know specifically what it is.
Are we worried about his status for next week?
He said no. He said no. He'll be fine.
Just precaution.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of times guys leaving boots is just to stabilize it so they don't roll it or whatever.
Yeah. Listen, there's plenty of things you want to be critical about Deshaun Watson over the last few years. Fine, that are fair. Including former players, including one former Cleveland Brown, the people that talked about him not being tough, those people made fools of themselves.
Listen,
and I think we've seen it here.
That's done. There's a lot of people, and I know sometimes, there's a group of Cleveland Browns fans out there that wanted this to be true. They wanted the narrative to be, he's not going to play. Look at him, he's not hurt just at the $230 million. Y'all can just shut up now. Y'all can just be cool. Like, you have to find something else, another hill to die on, because the dude showed what it was about. The dude showed and came back out. Y'all was hoping, and I'm sad to say this, you was hoping he did not come out. He didn't come out for the second half. You was hoping, oh, look, it's P.J. Walker again. He left his guys out there. What about Joe Bitonio? He came back from knee surgery. There's guys out here playing injured. Where's your quarterback? Well, guess what? Not only did he do that, he came back and played well. And like Bull says, hey, if you're going to play, you playing. We can't give you excuses for that.
That's right.
Not only did he come back and play, he played lights out. He got it done. So the narrative about him just cashing checks is out of the window. Like, y'all can find something else in your little chat rooms to talk about. Y'all can, we've already got rid of the massage jokes. Now we're gonna get rid of this injury thing. And the crazy thing about it, Bull, is this. This is the scary thing for everybody else. What if he starts putting it together? What if the practices start hitting? What if he's like, oh, I'm really comfortable now? Yeah. Now you're peaking going into the last part of the season when everybody else is having attrition in their roster because they've been playing the whole season. He still has a lot of progression and a lot of work to go, but he can get better and keep getting better based on the amount of reps he needs. Because Jason said, he needs practice.
He needs some practice.
He needs to play.
Yeah.
Right. Listen, if Deshaun Watson play becomes more consistent, there's no limit to how good the Browns can be.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they've beaten Cincinnati, San Francisco, and Baltimore.
What else do you want? and
that's crazy.
And this is an offense right now, as presently constructed, with an injured quarterback, with no tackles, with no run, with your starting running back out. You look at this and you say, well, that's a team that shouldn't be able to come back on teams. The worst thing you could do is fall behind early.
Right.
Well, they fell behind early to San Francisco and Baltimore, and they came back and beat both of them. So this team defies logic in so many ways, and you just have to respect the ability to compete and the physical nature with which they play. You know, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but I don't know what you would call that push, the whole entire offensive line getting in on it, and the Jerome Ford run at the end, man. That was a signature moment, and Kevin said it was his favorite play of the game.
Oh, my wife came upstairs. She said you were screaming. I thought somebody died. I said no, she was visibly shaking. I was like, no, look at this. I rewind. I said, look at this offensive line pushing everybody. I was when Hudson threw his fist like that. I grabbed a water bottle. I threw it somewhere. I almost broke something. I was just fired up, bro. I couldn't. We ain't seen. Look at that. Look at him push these dudes up out of the way.
Long
look
enough.
at Elijah Moore's legs, by the way.
And then what about the David Njoku play? We'll get to that too, when he dragged Geno Stone for like 15 yards.
Real quick, can you show that one more time, Mikey? I want you to see how late Joe Bitonio comes into that.
And watch Elijah Moore's legs too.
But watch Bitonio. He's like the last one in, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. So there it goes. Here comes Joel.
Boom, boom.
So we were talking.
And it started moving again.
We were talking to Joel about it after the game, and Joel said, when you're watching film, you can't be the guy that's not part of the pile.
Right.
So there's another angle of him where he's like, he sees it and then he starts sprinting. Because he's like, man, when you get in that film room, you don't want to be the guy standing there watching. You have to be part of that pile.
And by the way, the play where Njoku dragged Stone, that was like, do you remember?
He should have charged him cab fare.
Dude, do you remember this play? I mean, this was incredible. All right, starts
11 yards. 11 yards.
This is sponsored by
Lyft.
11.
That was sponsored by Njoku Strong, by the
way. Dude, that reminded me a little bit of the Blind Side movie.
Right.
Remember when he picks up the kid who's being calling him names, and he throws him over the fence?
11 yards.
I mean, that's crazy.
Took that man's soul. I still don't even see who it was.
That's humiliating.
Yes.
That is humiliating.
And that game, think about it.
And that's the Ravens.
It's 30
Ravens.
It's 31-17 at that point.
Ravens thought the game was over at halftime.
They thought it was done.
They thought it was over.
So did we.
And then especially after Prochet fumbles. But we'll get, all right, we're going all over the place. Let's get to Kevin Stefanski.
Well, hold on. Let me ask you guys one more question about Deshaun Watson before we move on. This has been a long time coming for Deshaun. Been some trials and tribulations, plenty of ups and downs in Cleveland. But to do what he did yesterday, to lead the Browns on a game-winning drive in the fashion he did, there was the fumble he comes back from. There was the false start. 2 times in that drive, they were in negative down and distance positions. How badly did Deshaun need that for himself?
I would, listen, I don't know him personally. You've talked to him a little bit. I would think, guys, that this was huge for his confidence because we've talked about this. The one thing I think we all kind of ignored when Deshaun Watson came here after sitting a year and then getting suspended and everybody hating on him, fair or foul, everybody hating on him, was the mental side of this. And there were times last year, certainly, and even early this year, where you're like, has this guy lost his edge? Has he lost his mojo? Has he lost his confidence? I think that's going away, and I think it was huge, guys.
I think it can't be overstated enough that when you are a top-notch player, you lean on the fact that, and I always go back to LeBron, how he talks about it. It's nauseating to other people who haven't been there, but when he talks about his experiences and I've been here before, I understand this is playoff mode. Guys, on the road, I like to get my guys involved a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? Or excuse me, on the road, I gotta keep it going. But at home, I like to get my guys moving a little bit easier because they're gonna score a little bit easier at home. And for Deshaun Watson, he hadn't put together a body of work where he could go back and remember that he was that guy. It had been so long, and so when you get a victory like this and playing against another quarterback on the other end of the field, Lamar Jackson, who people are saying is playing like an MVP, these guys are he's gonna remember this. And the scary thing about it is, it's just like Steph Curry, man. You don't want shooters seeing that ball go through the rim. And right now, for a lot of people, I believe that this is going to open the floodgates for Deshaun Watson, because I think he's going to start playing with more confidence the more he sees it. And next week, I think he's going to play lights out when it comes to even his first half. I think this whole game against the Steelers, he understands the climate and he's going to play lights out.
I don't know him well. I know him a little bit. Just trying to get to know him a little bit, talking to him in his locker here and there, and a couple of days of practice at post game. So I'm by no means a Deshaun Watson expert. I don't know him that well. And I don't know if he would ever admit this, but yeah, I think he needed this. I think he needed this for himself, for his confidence, to know that he could still do this. Because just when he was starting to put it together against Tennessee, that's when the shoulder came. And so now, it's 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. And to have the half that he did in that stadium against that opponent with everything at stake, divisional, all that, there's another part of this, and you guys kind of touched on it. He has to learn to be the villain, and that's just the way it is. He is going to be the villain no matter where he goes. And this is a guy who's been beloved his entire career, and now outside of Cleveland and even in parts of Cleveland, he's the villain. And that's just, I think it's been an evolution for him. It's something probably was hard to deal with in the beginning. He says he sees everything, he hears everything. He's blocked pretty much every Twitter account in Cleveland, I think. But it's just the reality of where he's at right now. And so it's so much more than just football. There's so many layers to this that we're talking about. There's the injury, there's the confidence trying to get back, there's the mental side of it, the emotional side of it. So there's just a lot going on right now. But if he can take that second half and he can play better than that. Now, 14-14, that part is perfect. Mm-hmm. But he can play better. We've seen him play better than what he played yesterday. So there's still more levels to this.
Oh, yeah.
And yesterday is just a taste, I think, for him against the top opponent of it's still in there. I've still got this. There it is. Let's go do it again.
And think about this. It's one thing to play well against Tennessee, a decent team. Yeah, they're okay. It's one thing to play a great second half against Arizona, but they stink. Mm-hmm. It's another thing with your 4th and 5th tackle, with a running back who, granted, played great, but hadn't done much before yesterday.
Correct.
We'll get to his great performance. With completely an unproven wide receiver group outside of Amari Cooper.
Denzel Ward was half the game.
To go out there and play as well as he did in the second half, and especially put those fourth quarter numbers up again, Mike. 9 for 9 in the fourth quarter. Right? Was it 9 for 9?
He was 7 for 7 for 89 yards in the fourth quarter.
7 for 7 for 89 yards. So every throw he had to make in the fourth quarter, and he had to make all 7 of those throws. All 7 of them. I think one of them was for 0 yards.
And he almost ran 40 yards.
And he had the big run. Everything he had to do. And he had to do it all. If he screwed up, and I say screw up, I don't even mean an interception. If he screwed up by throwing an incomplete pass on almost any of those plays, the Browns lose this game. He had to be perfect in the fourth quarter, and he was in the fourth quarter. He did what he had to do, and it was really impressive, and he certainly needed that big time.
Everybody wants to talk about the money. Well, you pay these guys for fourth quarter drives.
That's right.
And I don't want to bang on Baker, but the thing that I wrote about with Baker over and over again is last 3 and 4 minutes and got to have it moments. What do?
Yeah.
And he turned the ball over and couldn't get it done. Deshaun, and that got to have it moment yesterday. That's why you pay him that money. is because of that drive, that game-winning drive at the end of the game, and we talked about it, the 2nd and 19 throw to Amari Cooper. Those are big-time throws. Those are big-boy throws that franchise quarterbacks make, and that's why you pay him that money, is to come back on the road in that environment, in those instances, down double digits in the fourth quarter. We were talking a couple weeks ago about how the Browns couldn't come back in the fourth quarter and win.
Right.
Well, not only did they come back in the fourth quarter and win, they came back from 2 touchdowns down in the fourth
against
quarter.
The other team that was considered the best defensive football.
And when you juxtapose the two, Deshaun Watson made all the plays. You go back on the other sideline, Lamar Jackson did not make those plays.
Lamar did not play well
terrible
in the second half.
And I was talking to some people who, a couple of the other writers who cover Baltimore, and they're like, man, this team's over at skis a little bit. Like, they got to come back to earth. And Lamar had like 10 fumbles, I think is what I was told. He fumbled. He had more fumbles than touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
So there were some chinks in the armor if you watch them every game, if you watch them closely. So and under pressure yesterday, I didn't think Lamar played well at all yesterday.
No, and despite, I know, who the hell knows, but despite the Bengals' rough loss to Houston, I do think the Bengals are going to beat Baltimore this week. I know it's on the road. And
I'll tell you what,
the Bengals had a stumble, but I think they're going to beat Baltimore, which is going to leave the Browns with the ability to jump in the first place with a win.